Story 1. AITAH. For leaving my Bumble date stranded at a restaurant after she admitted she was going to her guy best friend's place after the date. A couple of months ago, I matched with Anna on Bumble. I thought we vibed really well. She had a really nice and funny demeanor, and we had lots of engaging conversations on FaceTime. We set up our first dinner date last week. I proposed a really nice restaurant, which was sort of far from where we lived, but I really wanted to treat Anna because I thought she was special. Anna asked if I could pick her up, and then after the date, drop her off at her best friend's place. I didn't mind at all. Anna said she had movie night with her best friend. I picked Anna up and we went to the restaurant. The date went better than expected. We vibed really well. Anna also had drinks since I was the designated driver. However, right at the end of the date, Anna asked if I would drop her off at Josh's. I was initially confused and then realized Josh was her guy best friend. Anna instantly realized what she said, and it sort of became awkward. Anna apologized, and I told Anna there was no reason to apologize. I was just curious about who Josh was, so I asked Anna, and Anna said he was her guy best friend, and they occasionally have movie nights. Anna said she wanted to be honest with me because she really liked me and saw a future with me, and she admitted they sometimes make out during these movie nights, but it doesn't go further than that. I appreciated Anna's honesty, but this whole thing felt like a huge gut punch. I was maybe in my feelings, but I just couldn't do it anymore. I told Anna to just ask Josh to pick her up, and I paid for my portion of the dinner and left. Anna looked really sad when I ended the date and left. I felt sort of guilty about it later and called my sister to ask her if what I had done was right. My sister said I shouldn't have left Anna stranded at the restaurant, especially after Anna was really sweet and honest with me. I told my sister how I could be expected to take Anna for a really fancy dinner and then drop off her at her guy best friend's house, where she would then make out with him. I had enough self-respect left not to do that. Was I the AH? AITAH has no consensus, but OOP received mixed reactions. Top comments. Commenter 1 NTA, she asked you to drop her off at some guy's place and that normally they make out. Who says that on a date? And who even does that? Commenter 2, nothing like taking a girl on a date. She tells you the date was great, she likes you. You start to feel like you got lucky on a dating app. Then she asks you to drop her off at her friends with benefits guy. NT. Update. December 8th, 2024. Hey everyone, just a quick update. I appreciate all the comments and the different opinions on my previous post. However, at the end of the day, the reason I posted it was because I felt guilty about what I did, and I agreed more with the comments stating what I did was wrong. Also, my sister has never once given me bad advice in life, and I think her assessment was right this time, too. Since I left Anna at the restaurant last week, she texted me a couple of times, but I just ignored those messages. I opened the messages a couple hours ago, and I was sort of surprised. Instead of lashing out at me, she just apologized again and said she was willing to stop seeing Josh if it meant we could continue our relationship. She said after the dinner, she just took an Uber back home and didn't go to Josh's. I texted Anna that there was no reason to apologize, and I shouldn't have left her stranded at the restaurant, and I should have also paid for her meal, since I was the one who invited her to the expensive restaurant. I asked Anna for her Venmo, but Anna said she didn't care about the money and asked if we could continue our relationship. However, I didn't have the same feelings for Anna anymore, so I texted Anna up front that I don't think we're compatible, and I don't want to continue this. We chatted a bit more, and Anna was very respectful of my decision but admitted she was sad. I too admitted it was tough, but it's best for everyone that this doesn't continue further. That was the final text, and I definitely think there are valuable lessons learnt from this entire thing. Thank you all for your input. Top comments. Commenter 1, I actually think this is fairly reasonable. It's nice that you both recognized your own mistakes in what happened, and that, at least from what it sounds like, you were both respectful. That being said, I agree that this relationship probably isn't a great idea to keep going. I wish you all the best out there. Commenter 2, I wonder what next steps look like for Anna. This arrangement with Josh will likely torpedo any future relationship chances if she doesn't immediately bring it up and ensure her date is okay with it. Anyway, good on you. Story 2. AITAH for refusing to go to confession so I can take communion in my brother's wedding? I, 31F, have 3 siblings, 40M, 38F, 27M, and we have a good relationship despite the age gaps between some of us. My older siblings are both married, and so am I. The wedding in question is my younger brother's. My younger brother Luke is engaged to his GF of a year, Emma, 28F. She is nice, I guess, but we have never really clicked and are just polite to each other. Something important is that we are all Catholic, but not really hardcore ones, and some of us are even lapsed. I do believe this whole situation started just when I met her for the first time. I look younger than Luke, and it has always been a sibling joke that I am truly the baby of the family. Most people that meet us assume he is older than me, but nobody has had issues with it until Emma. The day I met her, she kind of scoffed when I said I was happy the baby had a proper girlfriend. She has this weird thing about being the eldest in her family and refused to believe I was older than her until I showed her my ID. She has been hot and cold with me since then, often infantilizing me or trying to have a sort of boss attitude. I just let her be, and usually ignore her since I have no time to try and beg for her friendship, so I'm just polite and civil, always include her when planning stuff, but don't really make an effort. The family knows about it, but we just shrugged it to different personalities. Then the wedding planning started. Emma decided I could not be in the wedding party since I was not married in a church. Fine by me. Then she requested that immediate family submits their dress plannings so she could check it fits the wedding dress code. Fine, whatever. You see where this is going, I hope? You'll see I have not gone to confession or have communion in more than a decade. If I go to a mass for whatever reason, I am respectful and simply sit or stay standing during the rites I don't participate on. Well, this is not good enough for her, and she says I need to take communion during their wedding. I said no, and she has not taken it well. For the most part, I avoid her, as I said before, but this time I wasn't going to say yes or risk an issue. I told her for taking communion, one needs to go to confession, and I didn't want to. She said all immediate family is doing it, and it will look bad if I don't. I told her, sure, fine. Then I'll just go have communion in front of everybody, but won't do confession. She said if this was going to be my attitude, I was uninvited from the wedding because I clearly wanted to ruin the day for her. I turned to my brother and told him thanks, gave him a thumbs up, and went home. My family understand my reasoning and said they respect everybody's choices, but I shouldn't have said what I said. I told them I really don't want to go to the wedding anymore, and I don't owe Emma explanations on my life. I only called my grandma because she heard what happened and asked me not to disrespect the church by doing the communion without confession. I promised I wouldn't do it, and she is fine with me now. I got a text from my brother wanting to compromise, so I replied by asking if the other lapsed people are being made to take confession too. He said no because it was only nuclear family members. I find it funny since all the others are clearly older than her, and she just behaves like this with me and the youngsters. AITAH? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: you should alert the priest to her behavior. He will ensure that she stops with her actions. She cannot make rules that do not exist in the church. I would send a quick email to him and let her deal with the consequences of her own actions. OP: I actually considered it, but I don't think I will since my grandma might be doing it herself. She has lapsed herself but didn't want me to be disrespectful. But she knows the priest that will be officiating and is not really happy with all the shit show. Demand an apology in order to go. I already told my parents I am not coming no matter what. They are clearly not pleased with how she spoke to me, but even more displeased with my brother, but we agreed on not intervening more. If he wants to marry her, it's his decision. He's an adult and needs no permission, but what he would lose has been made clear to him. Commenter: I would let Grandma handle it. She sounds feisty. How old is she? OP: my grandpa used to say she was like a firecracker, LOL. She's 81 and has been lapsed for like 25 years, I think. She still has friends in the church community and all, but they respect her decision not to participate in the rites anymore. Commenter: can't you just go get a blessing? I'm an atheist, but my parents are hardcore Catholics, and my dad became a deacon last year. They asked us, me and my siblings, to go get blessings as a compromise as none of us are religious. I still declined personally. but my understanding is that going to get a blessing is common for non-confirmed and considered an act of participation. If you're just lapsed rather than actively rejectful, then that seems like a perfect compromise, and one where you can pretend to be going for communion before crossing your arms before the priest, or whichever signal said church uses. OOP. My issue is not about the blessing, it's that she singles me out and wants to have some sort of authority above me. A bunch of my family are lapsed, but she has not made a big deal over it except of me. Her stupid argument falls apart because my oldest brother is also lapsed, but she doesn't seem to care, or maybe she has not realized it. She has not mentioned anything to him, but is making a huge deal because I don't participate. One of the top comments. Lucky, effective 1564. NTA. Who died and made Emma Pope? OOPLL, I will share this particular one with my grandma next time we talk. She is going to love it. Update Post 1, October 26, 2024, next day. Things have moved, but I wouldn't call any of this a positive progress. I would like to clear something I kept seeing in the comments. I won't request a special blessing or go in the queue for communion. It isn't about the blessing or the compromise, but the singling me out. I often just stay quiet or take a general family blessing if we go to weddings, etc. I have no issue with compromises. I have an issue with Emma and her ridiculousness. I don't know why she has this thing with me. I do look young, but not like a teen or a child, obviously. She has 2 younger sisters and is very authoritative with them. I have witnesses her being very my way or the highway with younger people, so she has issues for sure. The confrontation from the last post was on Tuesday, and today we had lunch at my grandma's. I think you should also know that my brothers have a tricky relationship, as in they are not as close with each other as they are with other siblings. My older brother, Robert, is very no-nonsense, and he has never been a fan of Emma, but he didn't think he should have to intervene because Luke is an adult and capable of navigating relationships. All this is going to be relevant, I promise. We visit Grandma a lot since she lives by herself, and we truly enjoy her company. Today we were all there because she is over this drama already. After a lunch, that was more like snacking to be honest, she asked us all to clear the air. Emma continued with her rant about me being a disrespectful person and that she was asking the bare minimum from me. My grandma asked her why she had no issue with her not taking communion, and Emma said that she was her elder, and for sure her reasons were more than a tantrum like it was in my case. She also repeated that she was asking this of all the siblings, and I was the only one that was being difficult with her tiny request. This is where everything crumbled for her. I mentioned in the comments that Robert is also lapsed, and he was already exhausted by this situation. He asked her why she had no issues with him not taking communion, and she looked like a kid that was caught. She didn't have a proper answer. Robert then asked her if she even knew why he and Grandma became lapsed. She shook her head and looked at Luke for help. Luke, on the other hand, was staring angrily at Robert and I, but said nothing. Robert explained to Emma he was the reason Grandma became lapsed. When Robert was a teen, he came out as gay and was so worried about our grandparents' reaction since they were very active in the Catholic Church. Grandma felt awful about it, and even worse when she went and spoke about this with the then priest of her church. That priest was super old school and told her that Robert was committing sins. He was going to hell. He needed to find his way, the whole 9 yards. Grandma didn't take that so well and simply stopped going to church and started spending that time with her grandchildren. Over the years, she started getting into the whole community again, but she decided she was done taking the sacraments. She respects parts of the church but can't fully reconcile with it. Emma was a bit confused since Robert is married to a woman, and he explained he is bisexual and ended up with a woman just as he could have ended with a man. He also commented they are not married in the church, but that didn't matter to her like it mattered when it came to me. He asked her directly what was her problem with me. Long story short, she said I was rude since the beginning and kept treating Luke wrong. Oh, and I also was very snarky about looking younger than her. Crickets. She is a beautiful, successful woman, so I still don't understand her obsession, but it seems like she wants people to see. I respect her and what she says. I just started laughing. She started crying and saying I turned my grandma against her. My grandma told her to stop blaming people for her being a negative person, and she was always going to side with me over her. Luke got upset at that and asked her why she was not supporting him, and she simply said she doesn't support him being a lapdog for a crazy woman. More was said, nothing got truly resolved. I was kind of invited again, but declined going. Grandma is undecided if she even wants to go at all. My older siblings told Luke they will go to the ceremony if he seeks couples therapy or at least therapy. My parents are having headaches and now dislike Emma so much they can't hide it. Oh, and yes, Grandma spoke with the priest and he wants them to do extra premarital counseling or he won't officiate. I hope they don't get married, but he is old enough to derail his life if he wants. I thank you for letting me vent, and my grandma loved the Pope joke. Update Post 2, October 28, 2024, 2 days later, 3 from OG Post. My brother has gone too far, and I decided to be done with him. He made our grandma cry and I think permanently damaged a lot of his relationships. I want to mention some of my cousins and other family members thought I was just stubborn and creating drama, but now there is no longer my side or Emma's side. Maybe he always felt this way, but the issue he has with Robert is absolutely ridiculous. He was so upset with what Grandma said about him being Emma's lapdog that he called her to speak about it. I was obviously not present for the conversation, but Grandma told me what happened and Luke confirmed it. He told her that it was unfair of me to ask Robert for help, since he was her favorite grandchild, and would get her to side with me no matter how wrong I was. He also told her that many of the cousins believe this, and that it was so obvious since she even left her religion for him. He claimed the other LGBTQ+ members of the family, most were not even born when Robert came out by the way, doubted if she would do it for them. So Grandma explained to Luke and then called every single one of her grandchildren to ask them how they felt and explain to each a part we didn't know. She said that when Robert came out and she spoke with the old priest, he hinted about knowing of places to set Robert straight. Grandma had heard horror stories from these places, and so had Robert, and they both spoke with my parents together about that not being an option at all. My parents never intended to send Robert there and are very casual Catholics, but Grandma wanted to cover the bases just in case. I was told Grandma sounded like she had been crying on the phone, and after the first couple of calls, which went from oldest to youngest, the group chat started to blow. Robert is livid. Our LGBTQ+ cousins are livid and say Luke lied. Even the cousins that were telling me to stop being a stubborn head are livid. By the time I was up for my call, I was already on the way to Grandma's. 2 of my cousins were already there, and the youngest one, Sarah, 16F, was ready to literally fight Luke. For a bit of levity, Sarah is about 35 centimeters smaller than Luke, and the image of her swinging at him made me laugh a bit. She asked if I was making fun of her, and I just explained the whole mental image of her trying to hit him, and she admitted it was kind of funny. What I didn't tell her is I would love to slap some sense into Luke. My grandma has been through so much in her life, and this is not what we want for her. She looks puffy-faced and kept asking everybody if they truly felt unloved by her, saying she would do everything for any of us, explaining how Robert was the oldest grandchild. But that didn't mean she loved the rest any less. She is a strong woman, but I think something inside her broke a little with the thought she hurt her grandchildren. It was a shit show, a big one, and I was just so done with Luke. My parents have been passive towards the situation so far because I asked them to, but after they heard what happened, they told him they need time away from him. Robert is simply disgusted and decided to not speak with him anymore, which he communicated through the cousin group chat, with Luke's response being that this is why Emma's help on reigning all us would be so beneficial if we just let her. He also added how Robert never cared for him or anybody really, and he just tried to be the center of attention all the time. He cited his coming out, his announcement he was going to marry a woman, the birth of his child. It was ridiculous. He came out when Luke was a toddler, and for many years only our parents and grandparents knew. He announced he was going to marry his now wife through a text, but didn't interfere or took from anybody. His child was born 4 months before Luke's graduation, and apparently that was a big issue for Luke that he never commented. Maybe I am biased, maybe I am selfish like Emma claims, but I call bullshit on his tantrum. Every single one of the cousins has been helped, babysat, tutored, gotten out of trouble, you name it, by Robert. He isn't perfect, but he isn't the conniving ass Luke is claiming. Maybe Luke has always felt inadequate and we didn't notice. Maybe it was his last-ditch effort. Maybe Emma has manipulated him so far that he can't come back. It doesn't matter anymore. If he does marry Emma, I wish him the best. If he doesn't, I hope he goes to therapy. Regardless of what he decides, he burned so many bridges and hurt so many people. I don't see this resolving any time soon. For now, I will focus on my grandma and making her feel better. I feel extremely guilty because it was Emma's situation with me that opened this can of worms. I know I shouldn't, but it's hard not to. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, wow, it sounds like it is self-projection from Luke. He is the conniving asshole he is saying Robert is. OOP, Robert is the type of older cousin Sarah would call if she is drunk at a party and needs a safe ride. He also did it for Luke, which is why I don't get his deal. OOP's relationship with Luke. OOP. If he asked for help and apologized sincerely, I would be there in 2 seconds. He knew what he was doing when he spoke without Grandma. He knew it would cause her pain. He knew he would hurt Robert, too. Robert might not be crying, but he feels bad about the situation. He has always looked out for everybody and even has pics of him holding every single one of us as babies all over one of his walls. I always knew they were not the closest of brothers. But this is too much. Commenter, it may be that her purpose is to isolate him. Please tell your grandmother from another old lady not to doubt herself because Luke has decided to live in Crazy Town. OP. I don't know anymore. He is still very active with our maternal family so far. I am unsure how they will react when or if they hear what happened, because both families have a great relationship. He still has a strong support system when it comes to friends. Some even dislike or disapprove of Emma and are vocal about it. I am seriously on the wave that this was low-key less about me and more a poke to Robert. And thanks, she really needs a lot of love. Commenter. Look back at her having an issue with you because of how you mistreat Luke, which from your account doesn't seem happens. It sounds like your brother has created a narrative of the situation that is likely not recognizable as truth by anyone else. Maybe he resents being the kid and no one listening to him and figures he can get his way by acting victim. Who knows? OOP. You hit a point I have been trying to avoid. Maybe he has been like this all the time and Emma is just putting a magnifier on it. I must say he was the center of attention when it was about him. Graduations, birthdays, presentations, engagement party. He got celebrated on his achievements just as loud as everybody else. Grandma tried to always be there. So did our parents, Dot. He was always invited to stuff, always asked for his opinion on group decisions. He has always been loved. Update Post 3, November 4th, 2024, 1 week later. I want to start this by saying that Grandma is in better spirits now. I am overwhelmed by the amount of people supporting her and very grateful for it even if it's online. I have talked about this on some chats and DMs, but please know the situation with Emma is not about her being parentified or her family being strict Catholics. It's just her being her. They were already going to get premarital counseling. An extra was added. Oh, all cousins also don't live in the same city or town. Some are a bit longer than others, but we keep in touch through the chat. The reason for the update is mainly to let people know Grandma is okay, her health is fine, and she had a blast with my cousin Sarah. I also want to update on what has happened with the cousins and the maternal side of our family. Some of our paternal cousins, from Grandma's side, have relented and feel a bit bad on excluding Luke from things, so the compromise was met on, he can be invited to everything, just don't force people to interact. These cousins are mainly on the older side and have soft spots for the youngsters. My youngest cousin, Sarah, said she was okay with it all, but she wanted them to keep him away from her since she can't stand him anymore. Our maternal side was a shit show, because of course we need one. Some of them were very upset, but others told me I should try to understand where he was coming from. My mom was the one that told them everything, and some told her she is at fault for making Robert the star of the family. This was so uncalled for, but brought some issues in my family, particularly when one of my maternal cousins asked me if I could behave enough if I am seated at the same table as Luke for his wedding. It makes us doubt ourselves, but really this is a cousin that Robert has bailed from almost bankruptcy 2 times. And he's the problem? I haven't said much about my sister Lucy, since she voiced nothing different before, She was always very close to Luke, and even had a great relationship with Emma before the debacle. She decided to be out of it because she was so disappointed. While she was never made to babysit or anything like that, she was always so into Luke since he was her baby brother. She loved him the most, and I know that because she literally told me when I was a kid. We have a good relationship now because her kids are my buddies, but it was rough for a while before that. She was upset about the whole thing, but when our maternal family, or at least a part, started excusing Luke, she lost it. She is a very calm person, the type you don't expect a bad word out of. But she lost it, and I think it was the last straw in the cold bucket for Luke. She sent a massive message about what has been happening, detailing every single thing, and daring people to kind of come at her if they disagreed. She made sure to include every single nasty thing, every bad word, every eye roll. She sent it to so many people because she was tired of the half-information telephone game. She is upset at me because my refusals made this happen, and she said she knows she shouldn't, but she needs time to fix her feelings, so she is not speaking with me right now. My parents decided they were out of the wedding and told Luke he is on his own. There was never a monetary issue. They were willing to contribute, but both Luke and Emma are pretty well off and was no need for that. Now to what maybe most people want to know and the only conflict I am interested about anymore. My grandma is feeling better. Sarah being with her was very positive. It was lovely to see the eldest and youngest of our family so in tune, but then again, they have always been. She requested that Sarah invited Luke to her birthday party, December, and after a lot of back and forward, he is going to be invited. We will see if he comes or not. A small parenthesis. I showed my grandma the joke of the knife, sword, etc. She was so giddy. Thank you, editor's note. This is the scene from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. You have my sword, and you have my bow and my axe. I mentioned before that Robert would pick up Sarah if she needed. It is still true. What I might have not mentioned is that she, of course, gets a weird lecture from him and an even weirder lecture on how he rates certain drugs. LOL. As I said, he is no saint, but he is not a shit either. Lastly, yes, he has photos even with my sister or me in the newborn wall. People love to take pics of him holding the new family members, and he collected them and put them together when he got his own house. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, how did we go from I won't do confession to everyone blaming Robert for the end of your brotherly relationship, while simultaneously all of them also blaming you for everything? OOP. Have you met Catholic families? Jokes aside, I think it's easier to blame Robert and I than Luke since we're not going to go on a rampage that would hurt people. Sister. I think my sister is upset with me because of her closeness with Luke. She used to tell me she loved me, but not like Luke. She always babied him and was upset her kids were closer to me than Luke, but never forced anything. The Lauter quotes, she was so excited that Sarah almost convinced her to watch Lauter, almost. Bailed out cousin? It's deeper than that. The first time it happened, Robert organized a fund so people could help out and do it faster. The second time, he even sold a couple stuff so he would reach the goal faster. This cousin has a house because of Robert, and Robert does this type of things because he doesn't want anybody to feel powerless. Robert made clear he will not help him anymore and made it clear my cousin is spiraling now. Update post 4, December 5th, 2024, 1 month later, 1.5 months from OG post. As I mentioned in my last update, some of the older cousins were feeling bad about excluding Luke, and the compromise was reached. But as good, or as much as we want to be good, we are no saints, so we decided to test the waters before the birthday to be safe. We had a lunch party with a lot of the family in attendance and tried our best, or at least some of us did. During the trial lunch, Emma was trying to get Sarah to speak with her. As I mentioned before, Sarah was looking into following on Luke and Sarah's steps, but now she doesn't even want to be in the same room as them. Emma has not taken this well and tried to engage Sarah several times before the lunch, but Sarah was not budging, so at one point, Emma lost it. She grabbed her by the arm and sternly told her she needs to stop being disrespectful, and well, Sarah lost it. She started screaming at Emma to don't touch her, in way more colorful language, and everybody lost their shit. Fortunately, Luke was close by and took Emma and Sarah apart. How this adult thought it was a good idea to grab a teenager is beyond me, But then again, this is Emma we're talking about. Things calmed down a bit, and the rest of the day was uneventful apart from Emma's stares. Emma was blocked by most people, and she was very hurt by it. How do I know this? Because Luke made a whole speech about it to my parents, but well, she is now particularly focused on Sarah being rude to her and calling her a disrespectful child. She of course blames me for starting this and is sure I put ideas in everybody's heads. In total, I have met Luke and Emma about 3 times since my last update and kept my distance. Luke has been ignoring Robert, making a big show about doing it every time, like a child. My sister came around and started talking with me again, and not much has changed since we were never that close, and it's mainly to coordinate meetings between my nibblings and I. Now on to the important event that was Grandma's birthday. It was amazing. She had a blast with family and friends that wanted to celebrate her. She is very well liked, so it was a considerable amount of people in attendance. She was like a giddy princess and didn't stop smiling the whole time. The only wrinkle was Emma and Luke giving out their wedding invitations. It was tacky, but nobody was surprised. Some of my maternal family members in attendance were a bit awkward about it, while some of my paternal family simply left the invitations on their tables. Emma gave them to my husband and Robert's wife, which made them laugh, and she was annoyed but didn't say anything. They also got Grandma the envelope in front of some of her friends and asked her to please open it. Luke knows we never open anything until after the parties, but the insistence was such she did. Read what it was, said thank you, and went back to her conversation. I assume they were expecting her to be excited or share the news with her friends, but that was obviously not going to happen. Luke approached Sarah with hers and told her Emma has decided to make her a bridesmaid to repair their relationship. Sarah replied with woof woof. Luke looked like he was about to cry. He used to be Sarah's idol and she adored him. Now she mocks him. He told our aunt and uncle she should be grounded for being so mean, and they said they agreed with it. Sarah received a 15-minute punishment of helping carry gifts to the car. The wedding date is March 27th. They will have the reception in a family backyard, still a pretty big space, enough for like 100, due to the considerable downsizing they had to do since a lot of people are RSVPing no, or simply not even acknowledging the invitation at all. They tried to pull a Hail Mary during the birthday, but it was a fiasco. Grandma has officially declined the invite, and we will plan something fun for that weekend. I guess this is it. The countdown to see if he actually marries her is on. And yes, I know it sounds mean, but we truly hope he doesn't, but we'll see. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, this is far from over. You guys need to wall off Sarah. A teen shouldn't have to defend herself from crazy-ass Emma, and by no means should she be a bridesmaid. I can imagine the kind of crazy-ass entitled shit she'd have to do for the wedding. Don't Emma have friends she can torture instead? OOP. It was a quick moment and totally unexpected. Emma had never tried anything physical before. Sarah isn't even going to the wedding, let alone being a bridesmaid. It's just Emma being her ridiculous self, thinking she can control others. Emma already has 4 bridesmaids, including friends, although I am not up to date with the actual number. Emma's family. Well, I can let you know what I know. She loves to be in charge, and her parents have always enabled her. She has younger sisters and thrives on being a respected person. It's a bit like an obsession of her. The few times I met her family, they seemed a bit snobbish, but polite people. They do know about all that has been happening and contacted my parents after the birthday party because Emma was very hurt. People dismissed the invitations and felt our attitude towards Emma and Luke, particularly that of Grandma and Sarah, were out of line. I truly don't know what they expect. For my dad to ground her mother for not participating in the circus that is the wedding, or force Sarah to be a bridesmaid to a woman she doesn't intend to talk to ever again. It seems like Emma's entitlement comes from her being treated like a princess that does no wrong, but that doesn't fly with my family. Commenter, I have a feeling the Luke is eyeballs deep into the sunk cost fallacy. OOP. There is a theory going around my family that they haven't had sex and that's why he is like this. To a different commenter, what's worse is I know for a fact Luke is not a virgin. But the theory has gained a lot of traction. Even Grandma is starting to believe it. Story 3. AITAH for refusing to give my late husband's possible affair baby any money. My husband passed away almost 3 years ago, leaving me a solo mom of an 8-year-old. I've learned a lot about who he really was since then. Let's just say that if he were alive, we wouldn't still be married. About 6 weeks ago, a process server showed up trying to serve him with a court order to submit DNA for a kid. I gave him a copy of the death certificate and sent him on his way. Shortly after that, a woman shows up on my doorstep saying that the kid she had with her was my late husband's child. Is it? I don't know, and I don't care. It kind of looks like him, but also looks young enough that they would have had to have been conceived very, very shortly before his death. I told her that he was gone and where she could find his grave. She almost immediately started demanding her half of his estate. I laughed and told her that half of nothing was nothing, and she was welcome to that. Where I've been informed that I might be TA is that while it's true there was no estate, there were assets that passed outside of probate. One of those assets was a rental property that his parents gave us years ago, deeded with him and I as joint tenant with rights of survivorship. In short, it became mine when he died. I've already sold it, and that will be the money that sends my kid to college. Legally, I'm good. Already talked to my attorney about this. While I feel bad for this child, I also have a child of my own to look out for. I'm going to edit this to answer a few questions that I've gotten. No, there was no will in place for him. In my state, intestate inheritance laws say that if the only heirs are me and my child, then the first $50K of the estate go to me, and my child gets half of what's left. If this does turn out to be his child, then half of the estate would go to me and half to the children. That is, my child would get 25%, and the other child would get 25%. However, that is a moot point because his estate was literally an empty bank account and $40 in cash. Everything else passed outside of probate. A good estate attorney is worth every penny, even if I never could get him to meet with her to do his damn will. There was no life insurance. Yes, I'm in the U.S., and my child is receiving survivor's benefits. They aren't huge, but they do pay for the therapy bills. He hadn't worked for a vast majority of our marriage, but luckily did have enough credits to qualify. At this point, I'm not opposed to helping the other child receive the same benefits, since it won't affect mine. However, my attorney has recommended to hold off at this time because we don't know what she's planning. She assures me that if the other mother files with Social Security, that they will backdate any payments to at least the date filed. So holding off won't affect the total amount if it does turn out to be his child. I have no idea if she knew he was married at the time or not. My husband's parents are alive, but our relationship is strained, at best. I haven't told them about any of this, and have done my best to let them keep believing that their son was a saint. AITAH has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant comment? Commenter 1, downvoted, NTA for having nothing to offer. But you are definitely the AH for referring to this child as an it. Like he or she isn't even alive to you. How hateful. That child is innocent, completely innocent, and they are a person who did literally nothing to ask for your cruel dismissiveness of their very humanity. OP. I'm trying to maintain some semblance of privacy here by not referencing whether it's a boy or a girl. I live in a small town and the rumors are already flying. Commenter 2, NTA, and for what it's worth, that's not a terribly uncommon scam for some reason. If you still have the papers, I'd look into if they were even legitimate. OOP. They were. That's the first thing my attorney looked into. The working theory is that she really didn't know when she filed. Why she waited so long is anyone's guess. Commenter 3, NTA. You owe her nothing. Info. Other than her word, do you have any proof that he actually did sleep with her? Do you have any other reason to change your opinion about your husband at this point? OOP. I haven't found anything definitive that he was sleeping with anyone else, but I did find out that he was hiding a drug addiction and lying about a lot of other things, so it's possible. OP clarifies on the possible estate. OOP. When I say there was no estate, I mean there was no estate. We had separate bank accounts. His was empty and there was $40 in his wallet. It's still there, actually. He didn't work, had no life insurance, and was generally uninterested in handling financial stuff. There was nothing else that wasn't jointly owned or solely in my name. Deleted commenter. NTA, but keeping a rental property would have been a better choice than selling it and letting it sit in a bank account for a decade. OP, that place was an albatross. It needed thousands of dollars worth of work, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to be a landlord at that time. It's actually in a brokerage account, so it's not losing ground to inflation. Does OOP or her child qualify for survivor's benefits? OP. My child does receive benefits, but not nearly that much. It's enough to cover their therapy bills. My husband hadn't worked consistently in at least 10 years, but thankfully did have enough credits to qualify. Update. December 5th, 2024, 4.5 months later. I posted here several months ago and thought I'd make an update now that almost everything is settled. The original post was here. https://www.reddit.com/r/AITAH/comments/1 EGP0K2/AITAH_for_refusing_give_my_late_husbands/ So, it is his child. Or at least there's enough shared DNA to determine that my in-laws are the grandparents and there's no way that it's their other sons. The biggest update is that the mother doesn't currently have custody. I'm still a bit unsure of the timeline, but there might have already been a CPS case open when she first contacted me. She's apparently a fan of the same illicit substances that my husband was. That would explain how they met. Unfortunately, that means that the child is now in foster care. My in-laws were not deemed an appropriate placement, and I won't do it. I have been working with the caseworker with regards to getting Social Security benefits for the child. In my state, survivor benefits offset any child support obligations, so even if there was an estate, the SS benefits most likely exceed the amount he would owe based on his work history prior to death. This hasn't affected my own child's benefits. I still haven't determined exactly what I will do with this information going forward. I have set aside some money in an online savings account, but it's still in my name. Until the mother's rights are completely terminated or the child ages out of the system, I don't want anything that would possibly give her access to it. I will also eventually have to tell my child that there is a sibling out there. I've been through the ringer over the last couple of months, and I'm still just so fucking mad that I'm still cleaning up my husband's mess. Relevant top comments. Does OOP's husband have any siblings that could take the child in? OOP. There are 2 siblings, both out of state. His brother is single and in the military and isn't a good option. His sister is, let's just say, militantly child-free. There are a couple of cousins that might be suitable eventually. I'm really not sure what's going on with that process because even though I'm friendly with the caseworker, I'm also not related to this child, nor am I a licensed foster provider. So there are limits to what she can tell me due to privacy. Why can't OOP take the child in? OOP, I won't go as far as calling them a burden, but I'm in no position to take on another child and have taken measures to prevent that. I already feel like I fail my own child on a weekly basis. Commenter, wow, I can't imagine how hard this has been for you, and I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. You're not just managing the fallout of your late husband's actions. You're also being incredibly thoughtful about protecting your child and this other child's future, all while trying to navigate your own emotions. I think it's really commendable that you're ensuring the child gets the Social Security benefits they're entitled to, even though you're under no obligation to do so. Setting aside money for their future is above and beyond, especially given the situation with the mother. Keeping it in your name until things stabilize sounds like the smart and safe call. When the time comes to tell your child about their sibling, I hope you have support to help navigate that conversation. You've already shown so much strength and grace in a really unfair situation. Don't forget to give yourself space to process everything. You deserve peace after everything you've been through. You're doing amazing, even if it doesn't feel like it. Story 4. AITAH for telling my girlfriend I can't trust her anymore when it comes to her wanting a baby. I, 28M, have been dating my girlfriend, 26F, for 4 years. She has told me she always wanted children. We just didn't actively try for one, though. I never pressured her into having a baby, it was more so her idea. I make enough, and we own a home, so having a baby is something we can do. So, to clarify, I'm not mad at her for this. I'm extremely concerned, and I feel like everything she has said about her wanting a baby was a lie. Abortion is also legal up to 21 weeks of pregnancy in our state. So she told me she was pregnant. She was having symptoms and took a test. She was happy about it and excited. I was happy as well and offered to make an appointment for her. We both went together and she was 6 weeks pregnant. We have been planning, she even told her friends and family. She ended up having a miscarriage at around 9 weeks. It was sudden and she was upset, and I comforted her about it. It seemed very tough for her, so I did my best to try and make her feel better. I had to retrieve something from a drawer in our bedroom, and I found some herbs covered under a bag. It was pennyroyal and mugwort. I was confused because I have heard of pennyroyal being used to cause self-abortions. I asked her about it, and she immediately became defensive and told me that she didn't know where it came from. I kept trying to ask her about it, and she ended up telling me she used it to have a miscarriage. She was crying, and I was just in shock. I asked her why. I told her she didn't have to lie to me about it, and I'm confused because she was the one who really wanted a baby. She didn't give me an answer about it. I told her that we need to go to the hospital to make sure she isn't hurt, since pennyroyal is toxic, but she kept declining. It's been a few days and she seems fine. I've been trying to ask her about this, but she just says she doesn't want to talk about it. Apparently, she was telling her friends and family she had a miscarriage and has been accepting condolences. She's avoiding this, but I don't want to push it towards her anymore. I'm not too sure what to do about this because I'm worried she might be having some type of mental breakdown or something. I eventually told her that she should not tell me about having a baby again, and I can't trust her about it anymore. She was upset hearing that, but what else could I say about something like this? This might make me a huge asshole, but in the back of my mind has been thinking she might have did this for attention from her friends and family. IDK what to do, and I feel like a horrible person for even thinking this stuff. Eat it. I'm thankful for all the info on the herbs and all of the advice. I can't comment for a few hours because I'm going to not be on Reddit, but I am going to talk to her tonight, and tomorrow or whenever everything has calmed down, I will make an update. AITAH has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant. Comment? Commenter 1. NTA. Speaking as a professional herbalist, pennyroyal in particular can indeed cause damage to the liver or kidneys depending on the quantity and potency of how much she consumed. Mugwort is less toxic but has been known to cause miscarriage as it affects hormone levels significantly. I highly suggest getting a checkup and mentioning ingesting those herbs and how much. That said, this is a relationship-ending decision. While your partner has every right to decide to terminate an unwanted pregnancy, she lied to you, concealed her decision to use a DIY and dangerous abortifacient, and then accepted condolences for her miscarriage that she probably caused. This indicates a level of mental health problem that is not safe for any future family plans, let alone the loss of trust for having deceived you to such a degree over such an important life-changing event. She needs therapy, and you need to leave this relationship, or choose to never have children. If she decided at a later time in the pregnancy to take herbs like this, there's a serious risk to both her and a possible child. Just because something is natural doesn't make it safe. Hemlock is natural, cyanide is natural. I can name 20 plants that could kill you or make you wish it had. That's why you need to talk to a qualified herbalist before making up a potion. Seriously, you need to leave this relationship. It's not safe and she can't be trusted. OEOP. Thank you for this. She won't even tell me how much pennyroyal she'd taken, but she did tell me she drank around 8 strong cups of mugwort. I'm guessing she's worried I'd call an ambulance on her or force her to go to the hospital if she told me how much pennyroyal she'd taken. I didn't see fully how much pennyroyal is left since I didn't get a close look. I'm going to have to recheck in the drawer. I really don't know why she won't tell me. You're right. I think I need to end this relationship, but it might be a mess. I'm going to talk to her tonight whenever I'm not busy. OOP's girlfriend needs to get in therapy because the changes in her behaviors are to be concerned about. OOP. You're right, she needs therapy bad after this, but since I can't even have her go to the hospital, I'm not sure how I can even convince her to see a therapist. I'm going to talk to her tonight, and I'm taking some of these comments' advice to see what I can do about this. Commenter 2, I can see 2 possible reasons why she would do this and act this way after. She realized after getting pregnant that she isn't ready to be a mother, most probable one. The baby wasn't yours, much lower on the probability scale. OOP. I didn't even think about the second choice. For the top choice I also get, but I'm shocked she wouldn't get a medical abortion instead. She's going to have to deal with the negative side effects of the herbs she'd taken. She knows I'm pro-choice because I'm vocal about it, so I'm shocked she didn't come to me to see if I'd either come with her or she would go herself. We even have a Planned Parenthood near us. Update, December 2nd, 2024, next day. Firstly, for some context, we have a Planned Parenthood that specializes in abortions like 5 minutes away. I understand people thinking she didn't want to get an abortion because of protesters. I completely understand. I drive by that specific place every single day for work. I have seen no protesters. It's usually empty besides a few cars on the side of the road. But I still understand why she wouldn't want a medical abortion from reading the comments. I asked her why. What was her goal here? She was trying really hard to avoid the conversation and left the room, but I apologize if this makes me an asshole. But I told her if we can't have a conversation about this, I have to end the relationship. She came back in and said the reason why she did this was because she never felt like her family gave her enough attention in life and didn't feel supported by them, so she wanted to tell them she had a miscarriage so they can feel bad for her. I was confused because she could have just gotten a medical abortion and lied about it instead of just harming her body with a toxic herb. I asked her about that, and she told me she wanted to have the experience of having an actual miscarriage. I was so confused and in shock, so I didn't say much else because all of this just sounded crazy to me. She told me she didn't want me mad at her, and she doesn't want to break up, and she was literally begging me to not break up with her. I asked her, "Is there any chance the baby wouldn't have been mine?" She said no. I told her she needs to get therapy ASAP. I thankfully make enough to afford therapy, and I told her I will pay for her if she just please go to therapy. She agreed. I also told her she needs to go to the hospital, and I was telling her all of your comments about the septic that can happen, and liver and kidney damage, and that kind of scared her into going to the hospital to get checked out. We went to the hospital last night, and thankfully she is okay. Apparently she drank around 1 cup of it a day for a few days. I found out she was also taking some other things. High dose of vitamin C, turmeric, parsley. That's pretty much it for now, but I'm not too sure where to go from here. I love her, and I do want to be with her, but all of this is so out of the blue. Thanks for all of the comments on the last post. If anything else happens, I'll make another update. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. She sounds like she has some serious mental health issues like others have said. If you choose to stay, then I would be cautious moving forward having kids with her. She's willing to cause herself self-harm for the sake of attention. There is no telling what she would do if you guys have already had the child. I've seen mothers fake their child's illness for attention before. She comes off as deeply troubled and manipulative. I don't think she wants to hurt anyone out of malice, but it's still very concerning. If you stay, therapy is a must. OOP. Thank you. Yeah, the idea of having a baby is well off the table now. I'm not too sure where I'm going to go with this, but I'm heavily thinking about leaving the relationship after reading the comments. I'm just worried about her possibly harming herself if I do break up with her. Final update, December 4th, 2024, 2 days later. A lot has happened from my last post, and now everything is calmer now. I'm hoping this will be my last update. Apologies, since this is going to be long. In my last post, I told her she needed to go to therapy ASAP, told her I will pay, and everything. I just hoped for the love of fucking God for her to please go to therapy. That was the only thing I wanted. I haven't set up anything yet, because she told me she doesn't want to go to therapy now. She told me she will never do what she did again, and doesn't believe she needs therapy. I was going back and forth with her on this, but she was very insistent on not wanting any therapy. I told her I can't move on in this relationship if she doesn't do therapy. She was arguing with me about it and told me if I loved her, I will stay in this relationship regardless, and it wasn't even that big of a deal. I was pretty pissed hearing that because not only did she purposely miscarry the baby we planned for, she harmed herself for no reason, in her words, to experience an actual miscarriage, and I can't even trust her anymore. I was thinking about telling her parents at this point, and I accidentally brought it up out of worry of her mental health, me being pissed off. And she begged me, got on the ground, begged me to not tell her parents. I took her word because I didn't want her to lose her mind even more over this. I told her I absolutely have to leave this relationship. I told her it isn't my responsibility anymore because this has honestly been making me lose my mind too. I was holding it back, but I can't really take it anymore. Also yesterday, before this fight, she publicly stated on Facebook that she had a miscarriage and was tore up about it, accepting condolences again in the comments. I brought that up to her, and she told me the same thing in my last post. She was pretty much just wanting to feel important to friends, family. She was so nonchalant about it and honestly seemed like she thought I'd think I wouldn't care. I told her to stop posting about it and to stop telling people. Back to when we were having the fight, I told her seriously I can't be with her anymore. I will allow you to stay here or you can go back to your parents. She was laying on the ground crying at this point. I had my phone ready because my gut feeling was telling me that she might do something to herself. She would come out of the room she was packing in and come close to me and hug me out of nowhere. She said that if I'm breaking up with her, she wants a last final hug. The wildest thing is she came out of the room with one of my shirts on, a shirt she was not wearing before, take it off right in front of me and tells me, "Here's your shirt back." I don't know what she was trying to do. She finally ended up leaving and went to her parents. Right before she left, she was crying, and I think it started to hit her that I was actually being serious. She was messaging me and calling me constantly, ranging from her just fixing this together, saying she wants therapy now, and her saying she will never do what she did again. I've been ignoring all of it. I realize this is not my responsibility now, and her parents can take care of it. Like what my worry has been, apparently, she did try to harm herself. Her mom messaged me about it. She said that her daughter is at the hospital, and I'm assuming now on a hold because she tried to kill herself. She is physically fine. That is the last of it, and I'm thinking this will be my last update. I am not going back to her, and I'm going to try and stop thinking about all of this, and get a good lock for my door. Thanks for all of the advice on the last post. Edit. I am telling her parents now. If anything happens, I will just update it here. Edit 2. I ended up telling her parents. I had messages relating to this between me and her, took photos of the herbs she used, told them everything. Thankfully, they didn't accuse me or do anything drastic and thanked me for telling them. They said they will tell the hospital what I told them. Not too sure what's going on at the moment or what's going to happen after since she is being held right now. I will update this if anything else happens. Relevant. Comment. Commenter 1. I'm glad you pulled yourself out of the relationship because she is not healthy, mentally. I do suggest talking to her parents to make sure they get her some real help. Her actions were really messed up. OP. I'm thinking about telling her parents very soon. I didn't before because I didn't know if it would have been a good idea since they're the pro-life type. I understand she's not my responsibility anymore, but I don't want someone that is going through a mental break go through even more. Commenter 2. You're not the asshole. It sounds like you've been carrying the weight of a situation far beyond what most people could handle, and you did your best to set healthy boundaries while ensuring her safety by informing her parents. Her refusal to seek therapy, manipulative behavior, and the way she handled the miscarriage, both physically and emotionally, show serious red flags that you're right to step away from. Her mental health is not your responsibility, especially when she refuses help. You've done the right thing by involving her parents, and now you need to focus on your own well-being. Stay firm in your decision, and don't let guilt pull you back into a situation that's unhealthy for both of you. Story 5. AITAH for kicking my ex out of his daughter's birthday trip after he kept insisting on bringing his stepdaughter. Long-time lurker here. I've never thought I would have to post a Reddit post about this, but my family is divided and I need to know whether or not I'm being unreasonable. Throwaway for privacy reasons. For the last few months, I 32F have been planning my daughter's, Rose, fake name, 13th birthday. For her birthday, I have been planning a week-long trip to Greece. Rose has been obsessed with Greece for the longest time and has been begging to go there forever. And now I have finally saved up enough to give her a special birthday. The problem, however, is with my ex, Alex. Ever since I started planning the trip, he has been pushing for me to invite his stepdaughter, Mary. For some context, Alex and I broke up a few years after Rose was born due to cheating during the pregnancy. We lost touch for a year or two before he came back asking to be in Rose's life. I agreed to co-parent with him, and things were going well, all things considered. That is, until he got married to his new wife, Sarah, who already had Mary from a previous relationship. Sarah and I get along really well, and so do Mary and Rose. The issue is not with his new family, but with Alex. Ever since he got married to Sarah, all his attention has gone to Mary. At first I understood. He needed her to get comfortable with him being her new dad, but it has reached the point where he barely even puts any effort with Rose. He has missed several of her important competitions and events, as well as her birthday, just because he had to take Mary to the dentist. Or Mary needed someone to pick her up from school, or he wanted to take Mary to the movies. All are excuses he has actually used when I confronted him about his absence in his daughter's life. I should clarify that I have no issues with Mary. I love the kid. But my issue is with Alex acting like she is his only daughter. I have talked to him about this several times, and he always uses the excuse that Mary needs a dad too, before telling me to stop acting selfish and to appreciate he was in Rose's life at all. While planning for the birthday, I didn't invite Mary and Sarah deliberately so he could spend time with Rose on the trip. I did ask them beforehand if they were okay with it. Mary doesn't like traveling anyway, so they both agreed to not come. Alex, on the other hand, has been refusing to accept this and kept pushing for me to invite her anyway, saying it will be good for the girls to hang out. I have been refusing to budge, and it all came to a head last week when I asked Alex to confirm the dates, and he said he wasn't coming unless I invited Mary. I obviously said no, but he didn't back down. I finally had enough and told him that if he wouldn't come unless Mary came, then he shouldn't bother coming at all. He tried to argue, but I haven't spoken to him since then. He has been blowing up my phone, but I honestly don't have the energy to deal with him. Some of my friends have been calling me asking why I uninvited him and saying I was acting like a bitch. My mom agrees he was being unreasonable, but also said I was being cruel by kicking him from the trip entirely. My sister, however, agrees that he shouldn't come at all. I was very sure of my decision before, but now I am starting to think I overreacted. I don't want Rose to think he doesn't care enough to come at all, but if I agree he will spend the entire trip with Mary, I know he will because he has done it before, and I don't think that is much better for Rose. Everyone is divided, and I need to be sure whether or not I'm overreacting. Am I being the jerk here? Edit. I was not expecting so many comments. I didn't expect this to get as much traction as it did, and I'm having some trouble answering them all, and I won't be online for long. So I hope this answers your questions. The first I am seeing is that my ex is Mary's dad. That wouldn't be possible. I have met her father. She looks a lot like him too. Does my ex have bad intentions with Mary? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think he thinks of her more like the daughter he has always wanted. They also share many interests. Are Mary and Sarah okay with all this? No. They have been trying to convince him to let it go, but my ex is very stubborn. I also asked them not to be involved so the drama would die on its own. Is this what Rose wants? She really wanted her father to come. She loves the man a lot, but I will ask her since it is her trip and her choice. Would she want Mary to come? Yes. Rose looks up to Mary and the two get along. Even without my or Sarah's involvement, they are naturally friends. If you have any other questions, I will try and find the time to answer them. For now, thank you all for the support, as well as the valuable advice and insights. I feel much less stressed about this. I will have a chat with Rose and update you all when I can. AITAH has no consensus bot. OP was NTA with a few others. Relevant comment? Commenter 1, are you paying for him and is he expecting you to pay for Mary too? Not that it matters, but I just wonder if he will try to show up with her. To be honest, he sounds like a real douche that would do something like that. If you now don't have to pay for him, why not invite your mom? Having 2 generations of strong women who won't put up with an asshole might be a great vacation for your daughter. OOP. I'm paying for everyone since it was my idea to go. My mom and sister were coming originally. I might just make it a girls' trip to avoid the drama. Why is OOP's ex Rose's father going on the trip? OOP. He had missed a few of her birthdays prior to this. I wanted to make it up to her. He is also her father, and it seemed unnecessary to exclude him. My mom and sister are coming as well, so it wasn't going to be just us 3. Commenter 2. I 100% agree with you. This trip is about his daughter, not his stepdaughter. Ignore everyone else. He's made you and Rose very aware of where she stands. I'd send him a message, then block him TBH. Please stop getting other people involved. This trip is for your daughter, and the fact that you are yet again putting someone else above her is crazy. You are extremely selfish, and she will remember this for years to come. Now she is 13. I will leave it up to Rose whether she wants any contact with you going forward. OOP. I might actually use this because I don't have the energy to articulate myself and even bother arguing with him. Thank you. Commenter 3. Why are you making so much effort for him? I've seen your comments on things you do to enable your child to have a relationship with him. All kids deserve parents, but not all parents deserve children. He's a deadbeat. If he wanted to, he would. But he didn't. He's a terrible father, and you definitely didn't overreact. Lose the man in the trash and friends who agree with him as well. NTA. OP. I guess I just really wanted my daughter to have a chance to know her father. I'm starting to see now that it may have been a mistake thinking that he was the father she needed. OP should let her daughter Rose decide on what she wants. OP. She wants her father there because he had missed her last few birthdays. I just don't want her to go through her birthday feeling second to Mary, especially when they have a good relationship. But I think either way she wouldn't be too upset, mostly because she is more glad to be going to her favorite place. But I will have a conversation with her and let her decide. Update December 5th, 2024, 4 weeks later. Hello again, Reddit. I wasn't planning on updating, but since we're heading to Greece tomorrow, Rose asked me to share an update for those who are interested. Here it is. I hope those curious about how things turned out are able to see this. Here is some context for anyone who needs it. Original. A lot has happened since my last post, so I'll try my best to explain everything clearly. This might be long, so I'll start with a summary for anyone who doesn't want to read the full story. Sarah found out about Alex's cheating in our previous relationship, and after her hit her, they're getting a divorce. Mary and Sarah will be joining us on the birthday trip. I'm filing for a legal custody agreement and child support. Alex's insistence on bringing Mary to Greece was so he could one-up Sarah's ex-husband. Now for those who want the full details. After my last post, I called Rose's therapist for advice on how to approach the situation. Following his advice, I sat down with Rose, explained everything, and even showed her the post. I reassured her repeatedly that none of this was her fault, and apologized for making decisions without coming to her first. I told her to take her time processing everything and let her know I was ready to listen whenever she was. I am glad I did so because a few days later, Rose came to me with her thoughts. Giving her time to reflect really helped her articulate herself and think everything through. She decided not to invite her dad on the trip, but was against cutting him off completely. While I initially disagreed, I respected her decision and didn't push the matter. We discussed a lot of other things, but I'd prefer to keep those private. I also suggested family therapy, which she agreed to, and I've booked sessions for next year. She will still be going to individual therapy, and so will I. I hope that it will help us communicate better, and also help me with making better decisions in the future as her mom. By the end of our talk, we shared a much-needed cry, which I admit I initiated, hugs, and then watched Mamma Mia. Side note. To the commenter who suggested the movie. Thank you. Rose and I loved it so much we watched the sequel the same day. It was the perfect choice to get us excited for the trip. We are thinking of watching it again by the end of the trip as well. Now on to the drama. I reached out to Sarah and invited her over to talk about Alex. I showed her the post, including the comments concerned about Alex's relationship with Mary. While I didn't share those concerns, I wanted Sarah to decide for herself. As she read the post, she got to the part where I mentioned Alex's cheating. She was confused and asked what I meant. I explained how, during my pregnancy, I discovered texts and pictures from other women on Alex's phone. When confronted, he admitted to cheating because he wasn't ready to be a dad. That was why we broke up, and he disappeared for a while before returning to be part of Rose's life. Sarah was furious. According to her, Alex had told her I cheated on him, and that's why he wasn't involved in Rose's early years. According to him, it was because he wasn't sure if she was his. Hearing this, I was livid. I've never been with anyone other than my ex, romantically or otherwise. Between raising Rose and building a career, I never had the time. Alex's lie didn't even serve a purpose since Sarah and I had always gotten along. After our conversation, Sarah assured me she was going to talk to Mary and confront Alex. A few days later, she called me while crying, asking if Mary could stay with me for a while. I checked with Rose, and she was fine with it, so I agreed. From what Sarah told me, she confronted Alex about the real reason we broke up. During their argument, Alex was furious, possibly drunk, it is unclear, and hit her. Sarah had a visible bruise on her face when I arrived. I was and am still shocked by this. Alex had never been violent during our relationship and never even showed any signs of being violent. I am still having trouble believing it's true, which I feel really bad about considering how he left Sarah. A huge chunk of her face is swollen and bruised really badly. He didn't just hit her, he punched her really hard that she said she thought he knocked her out. Sarah doesn't have family nearby, and Mary's father is away due to his job as a pilot. So, Mary has been staying with us while Sarah handles the situation. After hearing about what happened, Rose invited both Mary and Sarah on the trip, which is incredibly kind of her. My sister canceled anyway since she couldn't secure a sitter and didn't want to travel with the baby yet until she is older. So it will be me, Rose, Sarah, Mary, and my mom. It was the same amount of people who were coming originally, so I didn't have to make new accommodations for them. As far as I know, Sarah hasn't made a report or anything yet, so Alex hasn't been arrested. As for why Alex wanted Mary to join the trip, his mom unintentionally told me everything. About a week ago, she called asking to see Rose before we left for the trip. I wasn't really keen on the idea, but I agreed as long as Alex wasn't there. During our visit, she rambled on about how Sarah's family made Alex feel unappreciated, how Mary didn't call him Dad, and how Sarah's ex-husband was always showing him up. Basically going on a rant about her poor son, who everyone is against these days. You heard that right, folks. This idiot was doing all this, not because he cared about either of the girls, but he wanted to be better than Sarah's ex. I am honestly still freaking pissed when writing this. He ruined his relationship with our daughter, and used Mary to make himself look better than Mary's dad. I don't want to believe that it's the case and that I am misunderstanding, but it is something Alex can and has done before. I even talked to Sarah about it, and she agreed this might be the case, although it is just a speculation based on what his mom has told me. It is the most likely case since Mary has denied him being inappropriate with her. I have cut off Alex, his mom, and told Rose we can revisit seeing him only after I have a legal custody agreement and child support. Both can take a long time, which I am grateful for. I am hoping it will give Rose some time to think more about her relationship with her dad. Sarah has filed for divorce, which I am helping with. She and Mary have been through a lot. Thinking about how this whole thing started, it feels so silly. It's been a mess, but that's the update. Thank you to everyone who supported and advised me. Your insights were greatly appreciated. We're looking forward to our trip, and I'll be focusing on giving Rose the special birthday she deserves. Top comments. Commenter 1. I never liked Alex since the first post and now can't stand him even more. He's a horrible person and I hope he loses everything. I'm glad you and everyone else are doing well, all things considered. Have a wonderful trip. Commenter 2. I'm glad you're there for Sarah and Mary. You're a good person. Commenter 3. Definitely not the asshole. It's your daughter's birthday trip, not a family vacation. Plus, it's important for your daughter to have special one-on-one time with her father without any distractions from step-siblings. Good on you for standing your ground. Story 6. AITAH for leaving my boyfriend behind when I found out he planned to have a traditional family. Throwaway. For context, I, 23F, left the country 2 years ago just after college graduation. I also broke up with my ex, 24M, because I didn't want to do long distance and our beliefs didn't align anymore. We both come from the same culture and dated throughout college, but while I wanted to move abroad and study further, considering the safety of women in my home country, his plans were that he would stay and take care of his family, We were both the eldest children of the family. Neither of us was technically willing to adjust, however. What made me dump him was that he just turned into a different person in the last months of the relationship. He wanted me to act like a traditional woman if we were to have a proper family. He would constantly say things like, "Women have been historically adjusting for their loved ones, and can you say every single woman was unhappy about it?" And, "Why are you so selfish? Does our future not matter to you? Do you trust me enough to take care of you?" And what not. Heck, he even got his mom and sister to call me and tell me if I was ready for them to talk to my parents about marriage. Luckily, my dad handled it because rejecting matches, especially if the couple dated beforehand, would cause a scandal in my community. It felt like I was the one who had to sacrifice my happiness at the first place because of tradition. I also didn't grow up in a conservative family like him, and my parents told me to get the hell out of the relationship. I broke up with him, and our friend groups were merged, but everyone decided not to take sides, so there was no drama. I've been single for the last 2 years and have traveled a lot, and I plan to get residency after a few years here. This was the first time I went back home after 2 years because my cousin just had a kid. I did not intend to see or call my ex, but I met up with my college friends, and most of them, including my ex, live in my hometown, so I knew, to see all my friends I had to see him. It was so awkward, but we were both silent and just nodded at each other, and I thought that would be it. But one of his friends started talking about his fiancée, and he is a bit of an asshole, so he said, "OP, I'm so glad you left him, ex, behind because you didn't want to be happy in our traditional families. Now another will get to experience the real meaning of family, joint Indian family." I just laughed it off awkwardly, and a couple of people shushed him. My close friends were very embarrassed and promised that both my ex and that guy would not be invited again. But my ex left me a text. He got a second number. On how his friend was just defending him because I was flaunting my new life when I obviously wanted my ex to be hurt by it, that I dumped him for just a better degree. I told him this was why I left you and blocked him. The thing is, I have been guilty about it for the last 2 years, and while I know I did the right thing for my career, maybe I should have tried not to hurt his feelings in such a direct way. I feel horrible for his fiancée, as both of them know he doesn't love her, arranged match, and I feel had I had a better approach, maybe another person wouldn't have added to the mix. I feel like I was a heartless person, as my ex says, in dumping as I did, just because of our different beliefs. AITAH has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant comment? Commenter 1, NTA. You dodged a bullet and have the support of your family. He's not your person, and it's 2024. IDC, what country you are from. Arranged marriages are outdated. Even traditional is different. OOP. I'm from India. Arranged marriages happen a lot, trust me. OP responds to a downvoted commenter regarding considering about settle down, get married, and have children. She could have a family and her career. OP. I don't see a problem if at 40 years old I am unmarried, child-free, and a cat lady. I don't think anyone, be it man or woman, should follow any social norms which would cause them unhappiness. There is no need for women to necessarily become wives and mothers if they don't want to, just because society thinks they should be. But thank you, I have traveled a bit, and I don't think I'll be settling down anytime soon. OOP explains about arranged marriages are being forced onto the adults from their parents. Oop, I never said arranged marriages are forced. However, a lot of it depends on who your parents are. Most people in small towns and Tier 2 cities are not privileged, especially if they don't have a high-paying job, to just go on dates and find out if they like them. You are talking about a small section of people going for arranged marriages. Plus, for many people, like my ex, it might not be forced, but many of them just agree to marry without loving that person, just because they have to marry someone. And this practice is not just restricted to India. I never said arranged matches were forced, but if you are not privileged or come from an ultra-conservative family like my ex, you necessarily don't get a choice when to marry or, for many women, whom to marry. OP explains about her community background and the culture involved. OP. We come from a mostly progressive community, Bengalis, and we both grew up in a Tier 2 city. However, my parents, especially my dad, are very liberal, and so are both sides of my family. Most of my cousins live abroad or in a different state and have married people outside my community. My ex comes from a prominent business family, but they are very, very religious and conservative. They are based out of his ancestral village, and most women in his family have hardly even gone to college, because his family believes that just because they are rich, their women don't need to study further and can live a life of luxury. I did not know these things when we first started dating. And TBH, many ultra-religious people are still like this, no matter what town or city. I'm just glad I left, no matter what he says. Update. December 4th, 2024. I wasn't going to do an update. I just wanted to ask the internet. Stupid place to go, I know. But I needed a neutral opinion because people around me either hate my ex or hate me. I am still at my parents', and I told my dad what happened in the gathering. He chalked it up to my ex being jealous and insecure, and he told me not to interfere and feel sorry for his fiancée, because if she is marrying him, then she must know what she's getting into. After blocking my ex a couple of days ago, I actually managed to have the courage enough to ask him through a mutual friend to meet me. Again, I didn't go alone, and our mutual friend was there the entire time, in case there would be a shouting match or a scene. We never had any closure after I broke up with him. I just left. And even though I told him why I was breaking up with him, I never addressed all our problems, and when I fell out of love and how he started to feel like a suffocating presence because of his judgment towards my life choices. We met at our friend's house and he apologized for his friend, and he said his friend was just being protective. I said I didn't care, and that I was sorry if I hurt him so badly that even after getting engaged he was mad at me. I know many people may call me a doormat for saying sorry, but I did it for my peace of mind. I don't want to keep any regrets, not from my side. My ex did not scream, but he looked agitated and spoke for a while, and I listened. His main problem was not with me dumping him, but the fact that I've always flaunted I was out of his league. For context, my family is technically well off, and my family has mostly liberal people, so not only are children in my family not taught that much gendered roles, most relatives, including my parents, never approve of their kids marrying into a religious family. How that made me flaunt anything, I still didn't get. To sum it up, my ex said that I made him feel like he was never good enough for me to marry him. I certainly didn't love him enough, or I'd compromise. And he has only felt inadequate our entire relationship because I acted like I was too good for his joint family, where wives and mothers are still expected to wake up at the ass crack of dawn because women. He also said that his fiancée will always respect his mom. I have never disrespected his mom. And his mother said, ultra-modern women don't make good wives. He also told me he felt like I keep on flaunting a picture-perfect life abroad, and he felt awful because he lost me because he was not born as privileged as I was. And he was stuck here. I didn't feel like I needed to explain anything more to him after he was done speaking. It was okay. Honestly, it's kind of relieving that he is a bit of a red pill idiot, and that I hadn't caused actual damage to a genuinely good person. The only part that stung was when he said, I had a picture-perfect life abroad, because I don't have that. It's a new country, a new culture, and a new language, and while the quality of life may be more, and I have my good days, that doesn't mean I don't struggle. I miss my language, my home, and my parents a lot. Just because you post selfies of places doesn't mean life is all sunshine and roses, unlike what social media thinks. It was relieving, ultimately. I don't think I even know what closure actually means, and technically I'm doing good in life, all things considered. I will be okay mostly. Thank you guys, you all were very nice in the replies. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Sounds like he made himself inferior. He thought you were out of his league, therefore you must also think that. Be glad you dodged that bullet. His mother thinks that women who are ultra-modern don't make good wives? Is that because they expect a man that can actually adult and not have to mother them as well as work full-time, raise kids, and have a spotless home? OP. His mom actually reminded me of the horrible mother-in-law from Marry My Husband K-drama sometimes. She used to be a nightmare because she treated his sister like shit and kept on spewing sexist norms that even had nothing to do with our religion. Commenter 2. Dude didn't love you enough to actually value you and a person and his equal and partner. He only saw you as a subservient thing to his wants. I wish you the best in life, and I hope his socks are always wet and his food always the wrong temperature. Commenter 3, NTA. You did what you had to for your peace of mind, and that's what matters most. Closure isn't always clean or satisfying, but you managed to stand your ground and speak your truth, even if he didn't get it. Keep flourishing and let the personal growth be your real flex. Story 7. AITAH for not giving my niece the gift I planned for my goddaughter. My niece Alexa, F14, and my goddaughter Daisy, F8, are both born in December, just a few days apart. I don't really get along with my sisters, so my contact with my niece are limited to family birthdays, Christmas and Easter. I don't know much about Alexa, just that she's very introverted, she barely speaks during family gathering, that she loves books and has always headphones on, but I had no idea what kind of music she liked. Daisy is my best friend's daughter. Her mother and I have been best friends since middle school, and I've been part of Daisy's life since day one. I'm a big K-pop fan, and recently Daisy has picked up my passion. She loves my favorite K-group and has gone as far as learning lyrics and choreographies. So, for her birthday, I decided to do something special and buy tickets for their upcoming concert in January. It is a pretty expensive gift, considering tickets, travel, and accommodation. But I was more focused on the memories we would build thanks to this experience. Last week, my sister heard me talking to my mom about what I planned for Daisy's birthday. She told me that Alexa loves the same K-group and asked me to take her to the concert too as a birthday gift. I explained to her that it wasn't possible as I already bought the tickets, and I wouldn't be able to find another one as the concert was already sold out. Plus, I couldn't really afford a 3-people trip. So she suggested that I took Alexa since she's older and my real niece. I told her that this whole trip was planned for Daisy, and it wasn't fair to ask me to change her gift in favor of Alexa. I told her that there'll be other occasions, and that now that I know of Alexa's love for the group, I'll make sure to gift her something related like official merchandise or a signed album. She called Ma an ah and accused me of loving a stranger more than my blood. My mother later told me that I was being unfair and that a teen would appreciate a concert more than an 8-year-old. AITAH? AITAH has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. NTA. Your sister purposely chose to not allow you to have a close relationship with her daughter to punish you for refusing to give in to her demands over the years and refuse to agree with her all the time. That was her choice to act like you were the toxic one, and she kept you from forming a close bond with your niece. Now she decides that it's okay for you to be around her child? Because you bought tickets to a concert for your goddaughter? No, that's not how true family works. Please make sure that your family knows that the real reason your niece isn't going to the concert this year is only because of your sister. Because had she allowed you to be around your niece for the 14 years she's been alive and allowed you to form a bond with her, the same way your friend did, then you would have known that your niece liked the band too, and your niece would definitely have been invited. Maybe now your sister will allow you to be in her daughter's life. But she has only herself to blame that her daughter isn't doing fun stuff with her auntie. She is the only one who pushed to keep you out of her life for 14 years. Your niece missed out on trips to the zoo with you as a small child, missed out on going to the theater to see awesome movies, missed out on going to the park, missed out on having fun shopping together, etc. All the fun stuff you did with your friend's child. Your sister purposely didn't allow you to take your niece. So she doesn't now get to dictate that your niece is suddenly allowed to go to an event that you've planned with your goddaughter because your sister waited until the concert sold out to say her daughter could go. Because if your sister had chosen to be in your life these past 14 years, she would have known about this before the tickets even went on sale, because you were so excited about it. Her child has missed out on so much for 14 years. That's on her. That's exactly how she wanted it. She can't decide at the last minute that it's your fault her child wasn't included because there's no way that you even knew the things your niece even likes. How could you know? You've been exiled from your niece's life for 14 years. Enjoy the concert with your friend's daughter. Have the best time. OP, it's sad but true. I mean, it's not just my sister's fault. I never pushed for a closer relationship, mainly because there's always some kind of drama with her. But I have so much core memories with Daisy and barely anything with Alexa. She's my niece, but she feels like a stranger to me. Is OOP closer to their niece or having a special bonding? OOP. We're not close, I guess. I don't see her much. Maybe I am a puss aunt for never trying to get to know her better. But I don't think swapping gift would somehow make up for my mistakes. I barely speak to her. I don't know if she has food allergy or anything of matter, really. She's very closed off. Honestly, I'm happy we have something to talk about finally, but I wouldn't feel comfortable taking her out of town for 3 days. Commenter 2. Do you think Alexa was being nice, saying she wouldn't like the concert? Or do you think she really wouldn't like it? There's a possibility here that everyone is fighting to have Alexa go to a concert that she wouldn't even enjoy? NTA, your sister is the worst. OP, I think it was a defense. Maybe a concert would be too overwhelming for her, or maybe not, but I'm pretty sure she was acting mature to A show. She was grateful B, not show the hurt she was feeling. Update. December 4th, 2024, 3.5 weeks later. First of all, thank you for all the kind comments. It was awesome to read that I was not being unreasonable since it doesn't happen often in my family. If you need a reminder or you've not read my previous post, here's a link previous post. I decided to post this update since last Sunday was Alexa's birthday and this Saturday will be Daisy. Also, I'm sorry in advance if I make any mistakes. English is not my first language. I'm trying my best. So as I said, Sunday was Alexa's birthday. Even though what my sister and my mother told me about gift swapping and Daisy not being really family pissed me off, Alexa had no blame in all of this, and I felt kind of bad to give her a generic gift. I tried to talk to my sister to know what kind of merch Alexa would love to have, or at least what she already had in her collection. I was told to go fuck myself, and that Alexa didn't need my pity second thought gift. Since she was not going to be helpful, I asked my Bill. Fortunately, he was very happy to help and also grateful that I was taking an interest in Alexa. He told me my niece has social anxiety, she has no close friends, and her only outlet are books, K-pop, and K-drama. Apparently, my sister is always on her case because of that. Anyway, I decided to buy her the group official Life Stick, a plushie of his favorite member mascot and the new released signed album. I went a bit crazy, I know, but I was feeling pretty guilty. I swear I don't remember Alexa giving me a true smile until she opened the presents. She lighted up from within and gave me the longest and biggest hug. She was super excited because she was saving in order to buy the Life Stick. I told her that maybe next tour we could go to a concert together and use our Life Stick. And that's where my sister ruined it. She scoffed and said in front of everyone, "Yeah, 'cause we all know this year you're going with your favorite. Of course Alexa takes the back seat." I could feel how hurt and embarrassed was Alexa, but she put on a brave face and thanked me for all the presents. And she told me that she didn't want to go to the concert since it was crowded and too loud. But maybe she could come to my flat sometimes to play Zelda and read manga. When my sister tried to say that I'm too busy, I shut her up and told my niece that she's always welcome. Also, I overheard Sister and Bill discussing in the kitchen. He was livid with her. All in all, I think it went well. Now I'm just waiting for Daisy's birthday surprise. Relevant comment. Commenter 1, NTA. No offense, OP, but your sister sounds like a raging, salty bitch who seems to take more pleasure in being passive-aggressive than being kind towards her daughter. The fact that she actively tries to ruin her own daughter's excitement at the gifts like that is awful, and I wouldn't be surprised if those kinds of actions are what has caused your niece's social anxiety. Your BIL sounds like he's got his priorities straight, at least. OOP. My sister has always been like this. She loves drama. She loved being passive-aggressive with me during our childhood. When I was 12 and she was 16, I had a crush on her history project partner. She told him and humiliated me on front of him. I always wanted a relationship with Alexa, especially because kids are not an option for me, but she always had something on me, and my mental health could not deal with her drama honestly. After almost 4 years of therapy, I'm much better and I know how to deal with her. If Alexa wants a relationship, I'll make sure it'll happen. OOP should had prioritized their niece instead of Daisy. I take care of Daisy a lot because her mother is an only child and the relationship with her hubby's family is not great. So I know how much work a trip and a concert is going to be. That's why I planned the trip with Daisy in mind, and that's also part of why I didn't want to switch gifts. I went to a concert with my older cousin when I was 9. I didn't even like the artist that much, but I still remember it vividly, because that was the reason I love live events today. Maybe Daisy will forget everything. But there's a chance that 30 years from now, she'll take her own children to a concert because of this memory. In my culture, going out with kids is pretty normal. For the most part, they do what adults do, like going to the theater or to concert and festival. Also, Daisy is very sweet and well-behaved. Story 8. AITAH for refusing to cook my boyfriend dinner? Okay, so here's the deal. I, 26F, have been with my boyfriend, 28M, for about 2 years. We live together, and I'm the one who usually cooks because I enjoy it, and honestly, I'm just better at it. He can boil water sometimes, LOL. Anyway, last night he came home from work and immediately plopped himself on the couch. I asked him how his day was, and he just grunted at me like I'm his roommate or something. Whatever, I let it slide. Then, around 7 p.m., he's like, "What's for dinner?" And I told him I hadn't started cooking yet because I'd been busy cleaning the house and doing laundry. He kind of scoffed and said, "Well, I've been working all day. Can't you just throw something together?" And that just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, yes, you work a 9, 5, but I work 2, freelance, so at home, and I also handle 99% of the housework. I told him he could figure out dinner himself, and he got all pouty, saying he was too tired and didn't know what to make. I suggested ordering takeout, but he said he didn't want to spend money. Long story short, I stood my ground and didn't cook. He ended up eating cereal and was super passive-aggressive the rest of the night, slamming cupboards and sighing dramatically. This morning he made a snide comment like, "Guess I know where I stand now, and now I'm wondering if I was too harsh. Like, I get that he's tired, but so am I. I feel like a jerk, but also I'm not his personal chef."
AITAH?
AITAH has no consensus bot. OOP received the majority of NTAs and few others. Relevant. Comment. Commenter 1. NTA. Do not marry and do not have kids. Find a partner in all of life and its mundane domestic tasks. OOP. Thankfully, we're both child-free. I'm definitely rethinking things, though. Commenter 2. So you'd rather deal with someone that sees you as his bangmate instead of telling your family y'all just didn't work out. OOP. My family are more on the traditional side and would definitely judge me for leaving my BF over chores. But after reading these comments, I'm starting to see that I've been a bit of a doormat. Commenter 3, NTA. He was patronizing. It would be a red flag for me with his attitude. I'd be rethinking the whole thing. OOP. Now that I think about it more, there have been times where he has put down my job compared to his. Like one time he was stressed out because of a deadline coming up and said that he wished he had my job sometimes because it must be so easy just hanging out at home and getting a paycheck. Commenter 4. So you are now a doormat who does not deserve to be treated with any sort of respect, at least in your shitty partner's eyes. I'd have a very hard time forgiving someone who treated me like this. Does partner contribute more to bills? Are you making enough money to support yourself? And if not, what are you doing to rectify that? OOP. I do make decent money, but he makes a good amount more than me. I could support myself if we broke up, though. He contributes more to the rent and utilize, but I do pay for all of our groceries. OOP responds to multiple comments about her BF's job and their working hours. OOP. I've tried to discuss splitting the chores more, but he says he works so hard he probably couldn't do them right. I don't think he sees my job as that hard because I don't work in an office like he does or make as much money. He usually works about 40 hours a week. I'm freelance, so my hours vary, but I'd say it totals to 35 hours a week for work stuff. The cooking, cleaning, laundry, and errands are probably about 15 hours, I guess. He works as a junior project manager for an insurance company in our city. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I know the job can be really stressful for him because there are a lot of tight deadlines and he doesn't get along with his boss. He's never really respected my job because he doesn't think it's as hard as his. I'm reconsidering our relationship, but I'm kind of nervous to break up because I have to see my more conservative family during Christmas. And they won't understand if I say I'm breaking up with my BF for not contributing enough to the household chores. Update, December 7th, 2024, next day. Hey everyone, I wanted to give you an update after reading all the comments. Thank you to everyone who gave advice, even the tough love. After reading all your comments and really thinking about it, I decided I needed to have a serious talk with my boyfriend about how I've been feeling. I told him I was overwhelmed from doing almost all the cooking and housework on top of my freelance work, and that it wasn't fair for me to carry the bulk of everything just because I work from home. He didn't take it well. He got defensive and said things like, "You're making a big deal out of nothing, and I work harder, so it makes sense you'd handle the rest." That really hurt because it made me realize he doesn't respect the work I do, whether it's my job or taking care of our apartment. I tried explaining that I didn't mind helping more, but that I wasn't willing to keep doing everything. Instead of meeting me halfway, he doubled down, saying he shouldn't have to change anything because he's the one who pays more of the bills. That was the final straw for me. I realized I deserve a partner who sees us as equals and who's willing to put in the effort to make things fair. So I ended things. It's been hard because 2 years is a long time, but I already feel lighter knowing I'm no longer stuck in a relationship where my contributions aren't valued. Thank you to everyone who gave me the push I needed to stand up for myself. I'm sad, but I know this was the right choice for me. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Congratulations on putting you first. I know it's going to hurt now, but in the long run, you will thank yourself. P.S. I like drama, hence I use Reddit. So, how did he take it? Did he cry, beg, or plead? OOP, thank you. It was a hard decision, but I'm trying to remind myself that short-term pain is better than being in a long-term relationship like that. Honestly, his reaction wasn't that dramatic. He didn't cry or beg, but there was a lot of back and forth about how he thought I was being too harsh, and how he didn't realize I felt this way. It was frustrating because I've brought it up before, but I think he thought I'd never actually leave. I'm still at the apartment until I can move out, and he's basically been ignoring me. Commenter 2. Dude played himself. He has to make his own dinner now. Good job, OPNTA. OOP. I'm hoping he actually teaches himself instead of finding another girl to do it for him. OOP clarifies on the experiences of living with her ex. OP. We were living together for the past 6 months. What I meant was I felt happier and less stressed before I moved into the apartment with him. OP should move out to a different place. OP. I am considering asking a friend who lives nearby if I can stay with her. My ex is just ignoring me now, but I'm not going to put up with it if he starts trying to guilt-trip me. Story 9. AITAH for refusing to go on a family trip unless they disinvite my nephew's friend? I, 43M, am really close to my family, consisting of my siblings, their spouses, their kids, and my parents. Every year we go on a vacation this time of year for 2 weeks and come back right before Christmas. We are supposed to leave a week from today. I am the divorced, single sole parent to my daughter, 15F. She jokingly calls herself a nerd. She's weird, she's quirky, she likes anime and video games and Star Wars, the whole stereotypical nerd thing. She does get bullied at school, but since leaving middle school and growing up a little more, she started taking it better. And mostly, it stopped. This one boy, who I will call Jeff, 16M presumably, and is coincidentally my nephew's, who is also sort of an AH best friend, is an absolute nightmare. I've talked to the school, we've had meetings with his parents, she's switched around classes extensively, but he still goes out of his way to pick on Emily. She has told me herself that she can deal with name-calling, but it doesn't stop there. He pulls her hair, rips her clothes, destroys her things, like this kid is a full-fledged nightmare. They even got into a fistfight that they were both suspended for last year because he stole her backpack and put it into a full toilet in the boys' bathroom. When I was discussing plans with my sister, she brought up needing to buy Jeff a winter coat. When I realized he was going on the trip, I actually almost lost it. I told her admittedly without thinking that we weren't going, and she began begging me, talking about tradition and family and blah blah. I said no, I'll eat my portion of the cost, but we are not going. After a longer conversation, I said I'll go if they disinvite Jeff. We are well off, and we are lucky to have grown up in a financially stable home with parents who are attentive and supportive, and for our kids to have done the same. Jeff was not that lucky. He lives in a really unstable environment both financially and emotionally. This was apparent to me from the meetings with his parents, as his father did not care and his mother blamed my daughter for being evil, and these were multiple separate meetings. This is awful, and I'm sorry that Jeff or any child has to go through that, but I told my sister that my position still stands. The conversation went back and forth, mostly just her throwing excuses. Jeff has divorced parents. He grew up differently than us. Maybe it's just a crush. Oh, so on and so forth. When I reminded her of the fight, she said, "I know, but Jeff needs this." She mentioned how he needed a break from his toxic home life, and I respect that. But why does that mean I have to put my daughter in a house with her tormentor for 2 weeks? I told her I wasn't changing my mind and went home. Now there is pure chaos. My family is split. My parents are begging me to go. I'm getting texts near constantly. My daughter told me she's not going if Jeff is going. She had a full-blown panic attack over it. Maybe I'm looking for validation, or maybe I really need a wake-up call and I'm just a selfish asshole. AITAH has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA. Additional information from OOP to clarify up on some details. OOP, hi everyone. I just wanted to leave a comment clarifying some stuff, though I don't know if it will help. I didn't know if I should edit the post or not. I mentioned it elsewhere, but this post got really overwhelming for me really fast, and it definitely got away from me. On top of post gaining more attention than I anticipated, the comments telling me to be a better parent, saying I'm incompetent, and insinuating or straight up saying I'm a bad dad were a bit difficult. I've had some anxiety and discomfort over those comments, but I'm trying to remind myself that this is just based on seeing a very limited and kind of crazy part of my life. So, while him pulling her hair and ripping her clothes has been a problem, I feel the need to clarify a little. There were only 2 incidents in which the clothes he ripped she was wearing, which has made it really difficult to argue to the school. Once in PE she was running, and he grabbed the back of her shirt and it ripped the collar, and 2 in which he was running in the hall, grabbed her shirt sleeve and tripped and it ripped. They were both seen by the school as accidents. Horseplay that went bad, and my daughter's uniform was replaced promptly. Other times were when he tried to snatch her jacket from her hand. They fought over it and it ripped. And the time that I brought up sexually assault, which was when he cut a piece off of her skirt without her realizing it. The other destruction of property things were him breaking pens, stealing lunches, writing on her jackets and shoes with Sharpie, wiping his nose on her jackets. Not destruction, but I called it that because who wants to use a jacket after that? And of course the backpack situation, though there might be more that I just can't think of right now. As for her hair, when we discussed it, it wasn't a violence thing to her as much as it was annoying. He'd walk past her in the hall and yank her hair, or when they were in class together, he'd pull her hair to ask for a pencil or something. I'm never ever going to downplay the stuff that my kid tells me, and these situations are still really upsetting to me. But I feel like the implications without clarification made it sound a lot more violent than it was. As for her cousin, from what I can tell, he's uncomfortable with the way Jeff treats my daughter, but doesn't do much about it. As much as it has always annoyed me, I also understand that a teenager standing up to their friend isn't easy. I give him grief for it regularly, but as his uncle I feel like I can't put my foot down with him as much as I can with his parents. I really didn't want to get into detail. I honestly have social anxiety, and I have anxiety about the situation with Jeff in general, especially because I have been in contact with a lawyer, and I don't know what would or wouldn't be okay to divulge. Mostly, I don't want to put anything out there that may be detrimental to my daughter or her safety. If there's any more questions or comments, you can reply to me here and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'm sorry again. Like I said, this post got really overwhelming really fast. Relevant. Comment? OP's daughter is likely to be sexually harassed. OOP. Interestingly enough, that's exactly what I said to the school. They shut that down quick, I must say. My daughter said she didn't feel that way, but that's just one of those things where, as an adult, you kind of just see it. I was not taking it easy on the school with that accusation, but per my daughter's request, and after long talks about personal safety and consent, I have been cautiously leaving that fight alone unless another situation arises. That's a whole new conversation in and of itself, though. Commenter 1. NTA. Jeff's situation may be tragic, but your priority should always be your daughter, and it sounds like you've got your priorities straight. Stick to your stance. Jeff is not your responsibility, and asking you to sacrifice your daughter's mental well-being for a child who has repeatedly tormented her is downright cruel. I'm guessing he hasn't even apologized and showed remorse, and they expect you and your daughter to roll over for him just because he has it tough. Time for him to learn a tough lesson not to take his problems out on others. OOP. No real apology, no. They bad to read each other apology letters for their suspension, but that's it. As I said, it's really sad that a child is struggling in the way Jeff is, but my kid doesn't need to pay for that. OOP should prioritize his daughter's safety over his family and Jeff's presences. OP. You know, it's funny, and I didn't include this, but every stupid little point my sister had about why I should feel bad for Jeff, I had a solid rebuttal. And she hated that. My daughter's mother and I are divorced, and my ex isn't even around. My daughter gets verbally abused at school and is still one of the sweetest, kindest people you'll ever meet. It was just a bunch of poop excuses, frankly. I'm mildly appalled because the adults of my family has always been incredible and supportive, and I'm surprised that this was even a conversation on the table. Commenter 2. Absolutely do not go. Can't imagine putting my kid in that position for hours and hours at a time with a tormentor for 2 weeks. That would be emotionally and potentially physically neglectful as a parent. A lot of her strength and resilience likely comes from feeling protected by her parent family. You do not want to stop her of her faith in you that you will always have her back. OOP should look into going on a different vacation with his daughter away from their family and staying away from Jeff. OP. Assuming we're not going, I've already been looking into alternatives. I have the time off, and I know my daughter is sad about not going on a trip she looks forward to every year, so we're definitely going to do something. I just don't know what. OP should look into changing schools for his daughter. OOP. She can, and I practically begged her to before this last school year, but she really doesn't want to. I think she feels like she's flourishing despite the bullying situation. She doesn't want to leave her friends or extracurriculars. It drives me up the wall. Does OOP's sister know Jeff very well? And what about Emily, OOP's daughter? OOP. My sister has known Jeff for years, and one of her points was that she actually saw the change in him when stuff started going bad at home, and her heart broke for him. Yes, it's sad that he is suffering, but again, not my daughter's problem. Why this kid is taking precedence over her niece, I have no idea. I think she really thinks she can fix him. Her son, though he is a cocky jerk, is a pretty great kid. He's expressed sadness over the whole thing with Jeff, so I can't help but think her love for her son is coming into play. She's, editor's note, Emily, known Jeff for a long time and feels bad for him. As for her cousin, he's sort of a jerk, but he's also 16, so it's kind of hard to tell what's permanent jerk and what's teenage jerk. I heard him say to Jeff something like, "Jeff, come on, bro, stop over their freaking PS5S after an incident with my daughter." So that's about as far as a defense as she gets from her cousin. Update. December 5th, 2024. Original post here. TLDR, Jeff is not going on the trip, and per my daughter's request, we're still going. Hi everyone, I hope you're good. I have an update resolution that I figured I'd share, though truth be told it's a bit anticlimactic. Before I start, I wanted to say thank you for anyone who put in their 2 cents. I appreciate all of the comments, though I got overwhelmed with attention very quickly. I'm sorry if any questions remained unanswered. There were a lot of comments. I am still trying to maintain some anonymity, but I am happy to answer any questions that don't impede on that. Night before last, my 3 siblings, their spouses, and my parents all gathered at my sister's house to talk this through. I very immaturely sort of walked in with a mild attitude. I knew I wasn't going to change my mind. I felt like this was a waste of time, but my daughter keeps expressing to me how badly she wants to go on the trip, so I went. It started off with my sister and my mom crying and just asking me to go, but that got shut down really fast by pretty much everyone else. My sister expressed that she just felt so bad for Jeff. Again, he's lower class with a mother who treats him like a baby and a father that doesn't care. She mentioned that Jeff and Emily have been polite to each other in the presence of family, and figured they were getting over their issues. I did find out that the waiver he was on extended to his tuition, despite being told that it was for his uniforms and school supplies, so my apologies on an incorrect comment I made. Regardless, she was trying to convince me and my entire family to allow Jeff to come. I really do get it, and I am a person who can experience empathy, sometimes to a fault. But for the millionth time, my empathy towards Jeff and his situation does not overpower my need to protect my daughter. As her only parent, it is literally my duty to make sure she is safe, and this is not safe. Thanks to a comment, I did say, "My daughter does not feel safe around Jeff," to which my brother-in-law, the sister in question's husband, replied, "Well, that settles it." The only adult who wanted Jeff to go was my sister. The only people who wanted me to compromise and go and ignore Jeff were my mother and sister-in-law. Everyone else was adamant that Jeff did not go. No one knew he was invited, and it wasn't until I sent in the group chat that I would not be attending because of Jeff's presence that anyone, including my sister's husband, knew Jeff was going. My father, who is actually a therapist, has been ridiculously supportive through this whole thing. He explained his reasonings for not wanting Jeff there besides the obvious. Most notably, and as many others, including myself, have pointed out, he started bringing up the subject of SA. My nephew mentioned to him that Jeff does like Emily, and if his mindset is as dysfunctional as we are led to believe, he's not currently capable of expressing that to Emily in a healthy way, which could lead to him attempting to SA her. Note, my sister tried to "I told you so" me about the crush, but I literally laughed at her. I really honestly don't care if he has a crush on my daughter. He's so awful to her. She takes it like a champ. She holds her head up high, and I'm so proud of her for that. But that doesn't change the fact that Jeff has been so sincerely awful to her that it makes me sick. It was ultimately decided that Jeff was not going. Thanks to another comment I saw, I did tell her that she was doing a great thing by trying to help this boy, but her niece came before him in this situation. I brought up that Jeff might retaliate against Emily, again thanks to another comment, for being disinvited, so we did come up with a plan, sort of. My nephew had to tell him at school the next day that Jeff was no longer invited because he didn't want him and Emily to get into a fight. I thought that was a dumb plan, I'm not going to lie, but as long as the blame was off of Emily, I didn't care. We left for the night. Both Emily and I hugged my sister. She apologized. It was generally okay. I'm still frustrated with her for trying to be this boy's savior at the risk of my daughter, and we have yet to have that conversation, but I'm sure it will come with time. My mother told Emily that she was sorry for seemingly wanting to subject her to Jeff, and she didn't mean to come off that way. She simply wanted us to come. I am still frustrated with my mom, but again, a conversation to come with time. I told my daughter not to get her hopes up, because part of me still didn't believe that Jeff was really not going to go, but we proceeded with cautious optimism. In the meantime, I spoke with my lawyer friend who did advise me not to go on the trip if Jeff was going, and not to speak to him or his parents directly. No problem there. I had resigned to not going, and I had no interest in talking to anyone. Additionally, my sister's husband and I had a long talk about how he was really disappointed in her for this. That's not my business, but I was happy that he was still as fiercely protective of my daughter as I always thought he was. I have to give my nephew props because he took the news well, although he was disappointed. He understands that what Jeff does is wrong, but I'm still not really sure why he puts up with it, besides that he's a teenager who doesn't want to lose his friend. So this leads us to last night. Emily shows me a message from my nephew that just says, "So Jeff backed out LMAO," and that's it. Get this. Jeff didn't know that Emily was going. My nephew went to tell him what was up, and he got as far as saying Emily is going to be there before Jeff backed out. I spoke to my nephew, who said Jeff just got weird and said he couldn't go, and they left it at that. Jeff seemed disappointed, and I do feel sorry for him. But again, my daughter comes first to me. My brother-in-law only sent me laughing emojis. Initially, I was still not sure if I'd go because a lot of comments suggested I should not go on principle. With that being said, my daughter said she'd rather go on this trip, even after I tried to suggest we do something else. So now we're going. Yay, that's really it. Sorry it's so long, and I wish it was more exciting, but it is not. I tried to put emphasis on the conversation with my family because that was the important part. But even then, we were just standing around my sister's kitchen talking, no big confrontation or anything. Regardless, have a good day and a happy holiday season. Thank you for reading and for all the advice. I do appreciate it. Relevant comment? What is the family's race and the possibility of it being a role in the situation? OP. Jeff is actually white. We are Asian. All of the kids in my family are half white, with the exception of Emily, who is half Hispanic. I wondered if race did come into play for Jeff's actions towards Emily, but I didn't want to include that detail initially since this isn't really about why Jeff does what he does. Sorry I was a little vague. Anonymity. OOP on his mother and sister's behaviors toward Jeff and not respecting Emily's boundaries. OOP. I wouldn't say that's exactly what happened, but it's pretty close. Once my father brought up SA, my sister and mother both made an "ooh shit" face. I don't think the implications dawned on them. I also think that's why they were so quick to apologize to Emily when we left. The way they hugged Emily was one of those hugs where you just mean it, which admittedly made me kind of happy even though I rolled my eyes at the time. As for my sister with the whole crush thing, it even bothered me when she said it. I know she teaches her sons that treating a woman like that is wrong, so I don't know why she was so quick to excuse Jeff's actions. I know she feels bad for him, and I think she wants to teach him how to actually love and appreciate people since one can assume he doesn't have that example at home, but I don't want my daughter to be a part of that.